Could the Spurs trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo? Obviously, if you've been keeping up with the NBA, Giannis and his agent apparently has inquired to the team that just what's going on with the future, and Giannis again are having these him and his team are having these doubts maybe about winning in Milwaukee. He wants to be a Buck, but he also wants to win championships and compete. And right now the Bucks aren't in a great spot, and so there's possibility that he will be traded. Um, and it's possible that he went down with a calf strain a couple days ago. That could be the last time we see him in a Bucks jersey. Next time we see him play, it could be with another team in about a month or so. So one team that's currently brought up in these talks, teams like the Knicks, because he said he wanted to go to the Knicks in the offseason. Teams like the Rockets, but they have Kevin Durant now. There really isn't many teams who I feel like have a good chance to get Giannis. OKC obviously has a bunch of draft capital and young assets, but do they really want to give up anything really right now? Like they're already a super team in and of itself. They're like 22-1, by far the best team in the league right now. So I don't think they would do that. The Spurs seems like a good fit, right? Because they want to win now. Um, Alongside Victor Wembanyama, you create like another Twin Towers. Good luck scoring on that front court and Giannis and Victor with their length and size. It'd be dangerous. Two possibly top five players in the NBA right now on the same team could possibly give them the opportunity to compete with the Thunder. They have a lot of draft capital. They have good young players, so it seems like a fit, right? Well, there's one thing. Well, there's actually a couple things. One, does Giannis want to go to San Antonio? Who knows? If he was, though, there's also things that will stop this trade from happening. And this guy right here is one of the reasons why. And there's another guy named Stephon Castle. Now, if you remember, if you've been keeping up with Spurs basketball, I'm a Spurs fan, so I have been. Back in the offseason when the Spurs inquired about trying to get Giannis, they did not want to give up their number 2 overall pick, which they knew was going to be Dylan Harper. And they were also equally against parting ways with Stephon Castle, even for Giannis. We saw this in the trade for De'Aaron Fox. They did not want to give up Stephon Castle. They didn't end up giving anyone for De'Aaron Fox. Really. They gave up Zach Collins, Trey Jones, and a couple first. But the Spurs did not want to give up Stephon Castle in that trade. They didn't want to give him up for Giannis or Dylan Harper. And so if that's the case, and as a Spurs fan, I know a lot of people say like, "Oh, you're just biased about your young players." Like, of course it's Giannis. You would trade both. You should trade both of them. I get that, and I hear you. Like, as it's Giannis, so I think he's possibly the best player in the league right now. Right, both ends on the floor, he's so good, so dominant. But if you're the Spurs, I also understand why you don't want to get rid of Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle, especially Dylan Harper. Now, he had a rough game yesterday against the Cavs, but when I watch Dylan Harper, if he can formulate somewhat of a shot, like I think literally because of his size, around 6'5", 6'6", can handle the ball well. He's not super quick, but can get to the rim with ease, score at the rim very well at a high percentage. I think like literally he can be, I don't want to say a next SGA, but I think he can be on that caliber, a next Cade Cunningham, if you will. A big guard who can get to the rim with ease, and if he can just develop somewhat of outside shot, I think he'll be really good. And I do not think they should get rid of Dylan Harper. I think he will be possibly a top 10, top 20 guy in this league in a couple of years. And as far as Stephon Castle goes, I don't think his shot will ever get really good. It maybe can be not terrible one day, but even with that, his defensive upside, his switchability on defense, a 6'6" combo guard, can handle the ball well, assist, and is a really good passer, has developed in that regard. I think he's really good too, and I wouldn't want to see the Spurs get rid of Stephon Castle. So it says here in this article, Spurs and Knicks are expected to aggressively pursue if the opportunity exists. And of course, that makes sense. The Knicks already made an offer in the offseason. The Bucks rejected it. The Spurs' draft capital and cap flexibility keep them in the conversation. The problem with that is if they're not willing to give up Stephon Castle or Dylan Harper, like how are you going to get this deal done? Because it's also apparently said that the Spurs don't want to get rid of too much of their young core. Their GM Brian White, right? along with guys like Sam Presti, small market guys, believe in building a team from the ground up through the draft and then additioning and helping it out through free agency and trades. Like the De'Aaron Fox trade. Great player, the second best player on this team, making the most money. We signed him to an extension. Um, we got him for basically nothing. We didn't have to give up anyone, not even Keldon Johnson, which I thought a lot of Spurs fans thought he would go. Now, with Stephon Castle off the table, with Dylan Harper off the table, with obviously Victor Wembanyama off the table, who does that leave the Bucks to get in this mock trade? Obviously, Spurs would be getting Giannis if this were to happen, but they're not getting rid of, again, no Victor, no Dylan, no Stephon Castle. I haven't heard any reports on this, but for me, as a Spurs fan and the way they do business, it doesn't make sense to trade De'Aaron Fox. One, I don't think the Bucks would necessarily want De'Aaron Fox unless they're still trying to compete. But from what I've heard, if the Bucks are going to trade Giannis, they're going to get rid of everyone and blow it up and rebuild, which they should because they can't really. You don't think you can compete with Miles Turner and Kyle Kuzma and Bobby Portis, so they're going to try to rebuild. So then it might not necessarily want De'Aaron Fox. Maybe they can flip him for more, but for me, the Spurs I don't think would do this because one, they just signed him to a max extension. After De'Aaron Fox kind of helped us saying, I only want to go to San Antonio. That's why we were able to get him so cheap. And so, for me, it does not seem like the Spurs way to just, like, it's so cold-hearted. So, okay, you forced your way here, got you on a discount, signed you to a max extension. Okay, now you're out of here. Like, no, De'Aaron was one of the first guys, is actually the first guy to say, I want to be here, I want to be a part of this guy and his career. And so, I think, is in the Spurs' long-term future. And again, that's not just me saying that as a Spurs fan, like, we can't give up De'Aaron Fox. I think I would honestly say we should give up De'Aaron Fox for Giannis. But I don't think the Spurs are going to do that. So for now, we're going to rule this off the table. Plus, I don't think they can trade him until December 15th, but that doesn't really matter. They could wait. So who does that leave on the table? Let's assume, because we need to match salaries. And again, there's also the reports that the Spurs really don't want to break up the young core that much. So let's get rid of guys who make a lot of money and aren't part of the young core. Harrison Barnes, Kelly Olynyk, and that's a good start. Obviously, you would have multiple picks in this also. I'm assuming 3 to 4 first-round picks that the Spurs have. Would the Spurs be willing to do that? They do have a decent amount of first-round picks in the next couple of years. Not as much as like the Thunder, but a decent amount to where if you traded 3 or 4, you would still have one almost every year to, sustain. So it'd be multiple first-round picks. Harrison Barnes, Kelly Olynyk. You would still need a little more. You still need about $20 million in cap to make this deal work. So at this point, again, Fox is off the table. Wembanyama, Harper, Castle off the table. I don't think they get rid of Luke Cornett. Just signed to an extension. Is the backup center. I don't think the Bucks would want him. The Bucks are gonna need some young guy because everything else, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, Carter Bryant, Julian Champagnie, like all these guys are a part of the young core that we built up. So who are the Spurs getting rid of? We've already said Wembanyama, Harper, Castle out. That leaves Sohan, Bryant, Champagnie, Vassell, and Keldon Johnson. If I'm the Bucks, realistically, it's either Devin Vassell makes salaries work, or Keldon Johnson. Either one of those. Can't do really both because that's too much money. If you're the Bucks, you obviously probably want Devin Vassell. If you're the Spurs, you're trying to get rid of Keldon more than anything. But if you're not getting rid of literally anyone else, then I would assume you would need to give them Devin Vassell. Would that hurt for the Spurs? Yes. But if this is all it took, Devin, Harrison Barnes, Kelly Olynyk, multiple first-round picks, 3 to 4, for Giannis, I probably would do it if I was the Spurs. I don't think this trade runs. Something more realistic that the Bucks would want, they would offload Kyle Kuzma's salary, and we would have to give them Keldon Johnson. That makes salaries work almost identical, and then you're getting 2 pretty good young guys in Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, 2 expiring contracts in Harrison Barnes, Kelly Olynyk, and then again they would probably trade Miles Turner, probably trade Bobby Portis. They would try to blow everything up, try to get as many picks as they can, rebuild. With Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson kind of leading the way for now, I don't think that would be the long-term plan, but it's 2 nice pieces to start, especially the way they've been playing this year. As a Spurs fan, would you want to do this? If you're asking me, probably again, Kyle Kuzma getting that contract is not great. Um, Getting Giannis is obviously great. Obviously, keeping Fox, Harper, Castle is great. There would be problems with shooting, especially getting rid of Devin Vassell, one of the best shooters, and a reliable scorer in Keldon Johnson. Also getting rid of Harrison Barnes, a good 3-point shooter. But it was probably this is realistically the trade that would have to happen for the Spurs to get Giannis. So let me know as a Spurs fan or as just an NBA fan that's unbiased, is this a fair trade? Again, considering that if we're assuming Fox, Wemby, Harper, and Castle are off the table, is this a trade that makes sense? Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, Keldon Johnson, Kelly Olynyk, 3 to 4 first round picks for Giannis and Kyle Kuzma. Now, if you're the Spurs, your starting lineup would look something like Fox, Castle, Champagnie for shooting Giannis and Wemby, and you have a backup Dylan Harper, Luke Cornett, Kyle Kuzma coming off the bench, also Jeremy Sohan. So it's not a terrible team. Still would definitely, I feel like, be a year away to really build out the roster from competing with OKC. But it's a start. So let me know, if you're a Spurs fan, would you want to see this happen? Is this too much? Is it too little? If you're an NBA fan, is this fair considering the information that I have that the Spurs won't trade Fox, Wemby, Harper, or Castle? Let me know in the comment section. Let me know where you think Giannis will be traded, if he will be. And that's it for me today.